everybody? It's your 5-star realtor, Joshua Ingram, partnered with Page Properties team, brokered by EXP. We're on another episode of the brand new podcast called the Dream Builders Podcast. Right here, we have two special guests, Danny Archer and Ryan Davis. I do apologize, everybody. The owner of the
Equine Valor Project.
Equine Valor Project, and a retired veteran and special operations soldier, Ryan Davis, is here to join us today. And I cannot forget my team lead, Bradford Page with Page Properties.
Joshua,
team.
good to see
I
you.
just want to say thank y'all for
problem.
coming out.
Thanks for coming down.
You're welcome.
Absolutely,
All
my
right,
man.
for sure,
Absolutely.
for sure. It's supposed to be a fun podcast here, educating y'all on what they do. So, what inspired you to establish the Equine Valor Project, and how has the journey been since starting it?
So, we were both overseas together, doing a mission, and that's the mission where he got hurt, went crazy. Somehow we lived that. Fast forward through years and months of tragedy to get to a point where I was getting medically retired. My wife found this equine program for my daughter, who got involved with that, and I was there. And it was probably during the medical process sucks, you're losing your purpose and all that other stuff. Somehow started, helping, and ended up in a stall with one of the horses and had like this, kind of a weird magical moment, right? So I talked to the lady. So this is at the Pegasus Riding Academy here in Savannah, and I talked to her about it. She explained some of the crazy science of with horses and people and that mutual beneficial relationship. And I asked, hey, what do you think about starting a veterans program?
Yeah.
Because at the time she was mostly doing therapeutic for riding for handicapped children, and she was like, that'd be amazing. So, and honestly, it just went. So this is probably the end of 22, beginning of 23, when it really started to go. And after that conversation, it was like both she and I were shoved on a mission, right? And everything, you ever hear that saying that if you're on the right path, the universe provides?
Yeah. So
it just kind of started to go like this. Well, guess what? I started to feel this, me and Ryan, hot Xville, all this stuff, it goes sideways for him. I don't know how. We defied death, I can't tell you, probably 50 times just in that one night.
Yeah.
And he's able to, we get him out, anyways, we connect right before I'm retiring. So it was kind of like, as we're going out, we have counselors that we talk to and stuff, and they couldn't technically share that she was talking to him or she was talking to me. She couldn't confirm or not because of HIPAA. And I'm like, look, I don't know why, but I feel like this draw, I have to reach out to Ryan. I don't know if you talked to him, but here's my number in case if you could pass it off. And so it's probably a week before my retirement. And I think you called me out of nowhere because you heard that I was retiring.
Absolutely.
And he's like, hey, at first I will tell you I was super concerned because I didn't know where he was mentally, and I was scared of triggering him or something like that. So I was like, man, I don't know, but I feel like I'm supposed to reach out to this guy. And if you've seen us together, hence it was like he calls and instantaneous bromance starts. And then he asked me would you do me the honor to allow me to come and pay my respects, during, and it messes me up. So sorry, but, and I was like, yes. And so, that kind of, we start sharing. Well, now guess what? I'm finding some peace with horses, and I'm like, man, hey, check it out. What do you think about horses? And he was just like, I grew up on, on a horse farm with cows and stuff. And I was like, yeah, but like, I'm not, look, I'm a retired helicopter pilot. I'm not trying to be Yellowstone. My back is all jacked up.
Yeah.
I'm, you know, so, but here's what happens. I hang out with the horses. I'm good with animals. It realizes I'm a solid dude. I don't know, whatever. And then it just, well, so I'm like, hey, let's bring you out there. So he comes out, and he's like, man. And there's a video that I'll give you that you can hang on your below in like your section. I assume you can put links and stuff underneath this. That kind of tells that story. Well, we are kind of trying to figure it out, you know, along the way with like Peggy and I, and how to do her program and build a veterans program, because honestly, a veterans program is in dire need. There's needs friggin' everywhere, right? Like, you take a dude from being a pipe hitter at this level, like, and crushing everything that he does, and then you take him and whenever that's over, like for the first time in however many years, for me, I'm 27 years, right? And now all of a sudden, you know, you're not really sure what you're going to do. You lose your entire peer group. You lose the purpose that drove every action of every day, and you start to struggle. So.
And your calendar is a blank canvas for you to fill in,
Which
and you don't know how the hell
right.
to fill it in because somebody's been doing it for you for years.
And you live out of a bag. You know,
Yeah.
you come back, you do laundry, you repack a bag, and then, you know, guess what? And you're off again. So I knew the need was there. And so along the way, Peggy had a guy that was wanting to do a project, Kyle Maddox, Mad Love Media. And so she's like, he wants to do something about you guys. And I was like, so I called him and I talked to him. And look, I'm very protective. Like, I'm not going to be exploited. I'm sure as hell not going to have Ryan be exploited. So I gave him a hard sell. I was pretty brutal about it. And he was like,
in case you all don't know, Danny can be pretty direct, and that's his superpower.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's his kryptonite.
It
It's
is.
his superpower.
Look,
there's no BS coming.
There's not.
from
I have
that,
no
so.
agenda. So, you know, he comes out and, you know, we meet, and we literally, that was the first time we met Kyle.
Yeah.
We had no script, no nothing. We showed up, and we shot that video in 3 hours. And honestly, it's beautiful. Like, so, you know, and that's kind of started it eventually. We had to pivot and do a name change because we tried, the name that we had, Raleigh Point 1, was going to be the name of it. We figured out that it would be easier for us to raise money as veterans, raising money for veterans versus, you know, this element, because they're not going to have the same passion, right?
Yeah.
They don't have the same access to things. So we broke off. It's now called the Equine Valor Project. You know, we have a board. We're on 501c3. We're still doing our website. So if you try to cyberstalk it, it's not quite there yet. But the program has been going. The ultimate dream, and I'm just going to run through all of your stuff because I can't help but monologue. But like, the journey honestly is this. For me, it gives me something, like if I'm helping somebody else, because this is the biggest challenge for most veterans, going like this, I need help. Nobody's going to do that. Like, if you're doing that, you've already skipped or crashed and burned and slightly survived off of the bottom, and now you don't have a choice for help. But an abled person predominantly is not going to go, I need help.
Yeah.
So, and I know after shooting that video, it was like I've been just shoved in this path and I don't have a choice. Because now because I know, look, because I am a gruff person. I'm the last person that you would think would be like, you know what? I struggled. I'll tell you that. I don't care to say that. And I don't think that the struggle ever stops. I think you just have to learn different coping mechanisms and ways to continuously do it. Because guess what? Like, you know, if you want to call it post-traumatic stress or whatever, it's not like you can just hit a light switch and turn it off.
Yeah.
Well, I find it real interesting, if I can jump in for a second. And you and I talked about, you know, Peggy's been doing this or attempting to do a lot of this on her own.
Right.
But as I understand it, and you've kind of filled me in, I mean, I've heard of Pegasus Writing Academy doing a lot of stuff for nonprofits and to benefit, and she'd wanted to do something for military and for vets for a while. But what you bring to the table is the connections of the people that, you know, you've been there, you've rode with these people, you've sweated with these people, you've gone to war with these people.
Right.
And so you're really bringing that assistance to her. So it's just, I always find it amazing when things come together. You talked about it a little bit earlier.
Right.
You know, not for any rhyme or reason apparently, but somehow those things happen. So tell us a little bit more about that with your relationship with Peggy and the farm and what you're all trying to do there.
So, you know, the location and the grounds where Pegasus Writing Academy is. It's in Thunderbolt, behind Coach's Corner, across the marsh from the Bonaventure Cemetery. And honestly, I try to describe it to people. It's like Narnia. You're driving through this, you know, this little town. You're like, there's no way that I'm going to a horse farm. And then you hit this little cut through on a gravel road, and here's like a garden kind of thing going on, and you drive down, and there's like a glamp sites with like 3 or 4 campers that you can like Airbnb and stay at, and then you run right into a gate. And you got to move the gate, you come and you close it, and then you walk in, and then it's a complete trees all the way around, 360 degrees, and 10 minutes later, you'll totally forget you're in Savannah.
Wow.
Yeah. I think everybody knows where Coach's Corner is.
That's right, but you'll never think that there's a horse farm.
Not everybody knows that there's a horse farm right behind.
And honestly, that's the power of it. So, like, whenever I talk to a guy or a girl about Pegasus and what it can be, like, I tell people, like, when you come out there, and I'm going to say, leave your bullshit at the gate. Like, you come out there, just disconnect from that, give yourself an hour of solace, whatever it is, and just hang out, like just being there, disconnected. You know, look, I'm not up there trying to like do whatever on a horse. Like I go out there and honestly, most of the time I do horse care. I feed them, you know, like I clean up, shovel horse poop and, you know, whatever else, or I carry something around that needs to do, or, you know, reset hay or whatever, you know. I don't do it as much as I would love to because, you know, as you know, I'm also in the mortgage business, but when I bring people out there, it doesn't matter how much, like, oh man, that sounds terrible. You know, I don't want to go someplace and work, and then they go there, and they're blown away by the effect of that place.
And just don't wear your good shoes, right?
You just can't wear your good shoes.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. And just to get you involved, Ryan. So, as a special operations soldier, how did you find your experience translating to supporting this special project?
So Dan and I, he's kind of explained a little bit of the history of how we got to know each other. We worked in the same industry for about 10 years until the night that I got hurt, to where we intermingled multiple times, probably on the battlefield. Now, the night that I got hurt, I didn't really come to or realize what happened until, you know, many months later and many years in the hospital. And when I did come home and go to Dan's retirement party, it kind of changed the game. He was probably the first person that I kind of reached out to from that particular event that was going through the next phase of his life. You know, I had been retiring in the military for 3.5 years when I laid in the hospital. You know what I mean? There was 2 years of that in San Antonio and a year of that in Walter Reed. So I had a lot of time to, and the solace that Dan preaches from out at the stables and the property out there behind Coach's is really kind of what drew us together. He took me out there one time. I didn't even have a power chair. He pushed me around on my crappy, it was like a 10-pound chair. We were falling all over everything. It was really cool. And then we walked with a horse, and there is some magic behind that. I can't tell you what it is. I've only been a triple amputee for 4 years now, but I can tell you there's some magic behind that. And once I saw where I could fit, where I could help, where I could promote, where I could, you know, be in there to say, hey man, if you're really that screwed up, you know, I do this. So I mean, and I'm not saying you don't have more issues than I have, but I got some issues. You know what I mean?
And a lot of people, now I have no direct exposure, but I've seen the results, and a lot of people don't have that outward, obvious, you have some challenges.
Yeah, sure.
Danny, you look at him and say, okay, you know, that's Danny.
That's true.
You know, he's good. He's got it all together.
I know. A
But
lot
I
of
think
our
it's-
problems
But
in the
it's pretty
veteran community.
amazing. A lot of that stuff is interior. It's not exterior.
You're not wrong. That seems to be the biggest problem. We don't have a real issue with, prosthetics. We don't have an issue with mobility. We have an issue with expectations. And I think once the veteran community kind of absorbs the identity that who they are isn't some freak of nature to the society, it's actually really good. You just need to keep yourself twice as busy. And I think a lot of that is just the application in the right areas to keep you kind of going and to keep going forward. And I think Danny and his every kind of ounce of guidance that he's given me at this point, because he's old, and I like, that I trust older people just because whether they're good or bad, they're old.
Is he colored?
Yeah, I tried to paint his hair last night. It didn't go as well as you could tell.
Forgot the bangs, because I have no bangs.
But minus all the lack of hair and gray hair over there, he has great direction. He got me out of a really, really awful time in life that I've thanked him a million times for, and he tells me to quit thanking him for that. But he flew the bird in to a very unloving place and picked up myself and a whole other.
He shared that story the other day.
That's right.
Nobody else wanted him to go in.
It was just a catastrophic
he was
amount of bad
practicing a little
events.
anarchy himself, just doing what he felt he needed to do. So.
It was the coolest thing ever. A bird came in and the machine gun.
I can't imagine.
Like a
Tell me the
movie.
story.
Like a movie. It was unbelievable. Unbelievable.
So Richmond Hill and Savannah, Georgia, how did you all both get here?
I was at Hunter Army Airfield.
Okay.
Yeah. I lived in Pooler and worked out of Hunter for 10 years, in the same place Danny worked. And as we kind of matured past the military and grew a bond, Dan lives out on the island. I do a lot of fishing out on the island with Not Lucky out of the boathouse. And that's just another organization in our community that does outreach programs for veterans, fishing and stuff. Yeah. We kind of connected. He lives out there. Pegasus was right there. We had already become friends. Now we're like, how's your kid? How's your wife? You grow past maybe some awful traumas that you went through at one point, and that only kind of baptizes you for the strength you get on the other side of it, So if you have gone through tough things with people and they're still in your local community, I don't think a cup of coffee and breakfast, once or twice a week would really be a bad idea. Sometimes some of that pain can really bring out a lot of that life on the other side.
Well, I tell you, as we've lived in the Savannah area now going on 30 years, 33.
You're almost as old as Dan.
No, I'm actually probably a little bit older. But we've been here about 30 plus years, and everybody here prides themselves in being veteran friendly because we've got Hunter and we've got Fort Stewart, so we get a lot of exposure to all that serve. Matter of fact, my son's serving right now. He gets deployed to Kuwait tomorrow, as a matter of fact. He's heading that way. So I think and I'm hoping you find it the same way, that people here are very welcoming to military, both retired and active.
I hear
duty,
you.
so.
I think you're right. I know this is going to sound crazy, but this last year, Gary Sinise and his organization built me a home. They built me a home on 2 acres out in Richmond Hill, and they gave it to us free of charge. And he said I could put this home anywhere, and I'm going somewhere with this, so follow me. So he said I could put this home anywhere in the United States. And of course, first thing in my head, I'm like, Huntington Beach. Like, I'm ready to go. I'm ready for the waves and the babes. But I'm a married man and I have a son, so there's things that I have.
Disregard the challenges of
I think
swimming.
maybe the first time somebody gives you the opportunity for waves and babes, you say it, and then you go, gosh, dang it, and then you go back to reality. And I sat in a place that has a good community. I sat into a place that has good schools. I sat into a place that I could still be in touch with my friends and family in Savannah. Savannah is somewhere we couldn't get too far away from because we love it here. We became home here. We became us here.
That's awesome.
And this is always a cornerstone of our recovery, and I very much so think it's a military town. Regardless of the amount of soldiers in the streets, you have to remember sometimes it's about the potency of the soldier.
Yeah.
You have 160th over there, which is special operations, aviation stuff, and then you have 1st Ranger Battalion over there, and you have a pack of really awesome Air Force kids kind of that work support pieces over there. So there really is some lifelong war-fighting fellas walking around the streets each and every day in this town. And that's a rarity, regardless of the number. You have 40,000 troops that don't go to war every year tooting around. It's a great thing to have, and we couldn't do it without all the numbers. But when you come to Savannah, you have 10,000 troopers here, and they're all going to war.
And we all know you're active because when people move into the neighborhood, anywhere, Savannah, Pembroke especially, or Ellenville out that way, and they go, what's that banging noise I hear? What's going on? And we just tell them that's the sounds of freedom.
Yeah, that sure is, and it rings loudly.
It does.
Yeah. So how should soldiers across the U.S. learn about and access the resources this program has?
So that's a great question, and that's one of the goals that we eventually want to do. So as, you know, EVP kind of starts to build, I'm also like reaching out.
That would have been easier to say.
Way easier for you.
EVP. It's a project. EVP. That's what we want to say.
Yeah.
That's it.
So, but this is the thing: is there are programs out there across the United States, and I think this is one of the challenges for most every nonprofit, is that they become operational, they try to get going, and then as they're trying to keep their head above water, they forget about marketing, they forget about reaching out, things like that. And so one of the goals that I'm trying to do as you know, my network connection is vast, right? From my 27 years in the military, and guys have moved all over the place, is to try to create a collaborative spider web, if you will, of all these. It doesn't got to be about horses. Like, I get it. You probably don't care about horses. Maybe you want to go learn how to ride a motorcycle, or you know, play guitar,
or you want a big shark or a tuna,
or you want to go tag a great white shark,
yeah.
which totally we're going to do together.
That's right.
And so all these things, right? And ideally, you put these things on a map, so whenever somebody relocates from, say, Savannah to, you know, Buttland, Utah, because that's probably a town. You could look on there and see that, like, hey,
if not in Utah, at least in Pennsylvania.
there is definitely a Buttland because it's so catchy. But you could at least be able to see what options are there. Because, look, the thing is that I think collectively there's a responsibility to help these people, because, I mean, you have 20 years of dudes getting after it. Not just dudes, but people. So if I say dudes, it's just me talking. This is not me being sexist. So, but I say this is because that takes a toll, right? But think about how many people went to war in either Iraq, Afghanistan. You've got, you know, people going to other countries and whatnot, doing all this stuff, right? And then they try to cycle back out in the community. And now they can put on a suit or a nice dress or whatever and blend it as much as they can. But rest assured, there's still a burden that they carry.
Yeah.
And they can't get away from it. It doesn't matter. Like, and so, and that's my challenge to everybody. When I talk to somebody, and I have people just come out of nowhere on social media, you know, or whatever, they shoot me a message. I'm like, hey, how you doing? Like, if I get that message, I know that dude is going through something. And I immediately reach out. We connect. Boom, then guess what? Where are you at? And then I connect them. You know, if I can do something like that. So it goes like, so understand, like, the Equine Valor Project is locally here. But we're going to be networked with, you know, a facility in Tennessee, the Two Raven Foundation. You know, there's Warhorse in Kansas, which is morphing into something else. There's, you know, there's the Coast to Coast Foundation and Defenders of Freedom. And there's like all these different nonprofits out there that their sole purpose is to generate funds so that dudes can come, dudes again, generic term, but can get brought in free, no money required. I sponsor you. You're my brother or sister in arms. Yeah. You're at hurt. I raise money and I can send you off to something, and you go get taken care of. Yeah. Like you know, I've been to Dallas, to a place, to a brain resiliency clinic, which does all this like head to toe analysis, like crazy stuff. It makes no sense, but guess what? You know, the only reason that I got that is one of my close friends that I served with in the Rangers before I went to the 160th. He went through the clinic, and he was just like, he was a maniac. you know, and he came back and he was so profoundly affected by it that he's now in chiropractic school down there because their doctors are chiropractors and then they also have a doctorate in neurology.
Wow.
And so they do this complete science, like I'm not, just crazy, but he's now going to be a part of that. And then one of our other buddies that we were all in the same squad and Ranger Battalion together. It was all this really tight.
Well, I'm going to go ahead and tell you about. There's other people in the community that we've talked about that are providing similar type services. You know, what's the guy's name with the fishing?
Jimmy Armel.
Jimmy.
Yeah.
Okay, we met Jimmy at a
That's
networking event. And,
Sure.
He's definitely somebody to meet. But also, we've talked to you about Monica Everett that we know that she's a vet, and she was in the Chair Force or the Air Force, however you, depending upon your perspective. Wonderful lady, not a dude, but she'd hang right there. She'd hang right there with him, I promise you.
Yeah.
And her program, she does woodworking, and she does
Perfect. Right. I would
these
love
beautiful
to get people
pens and all kinds of other stuff she does with her woodworking. And she has now purchased acreage out in Guyton, and is working on, has a shop out there she works with, and has people she knows that are vets, and sometimes she's taking homeless vets out there to be part of it. So we'll definitely get you guys connected. You know,
Absolutely.
It is definitely, I think, a movement because this is one of the things. Go back to trying to stay above water, right?
Yeah.
So there's this big pie, and everybody is kind of like trying to get a piece of the pie, right? To just get their but I want to get rid of all that. The pie is all these people that need help. We share all of it because guess what? Maybe Ryan comes out and he plays with horses for a day and he's just throwing rocks at them, you know, because that's mean, right? Yeah. And then we realize maybe that's not his thing.
He's not staying the whole day if he's
not.
throwing rocks.
He's literally like 20 minutes throwing rocks, you're done. But then we get him connected with somebody that, you know, maybe woodworking. Him with woodworking sounds like a terrible idea.
Well, he could make something for the...
But maybe, you know, it's cooking or
A pirate leg.
So I what I'm saying is that I think that connection, there needs to be a one spot that is like for everybody to come to. Like is it a horse stable? It's probably not. But you know what? If I raise up the beacon that everybody comes to, then so be it. At least it's the start of communications to be like, hey, look, I have these 7 dudes that I can't have them in a class right now. Do you have anything? Do you have any spots? Can I, you know what I mean? Like, because like Ryan said, an idle mind that is somebody that's been functioning at this high level is terrible whenever that loneliness, that darkness starts. And this is, and I'll use this visual when I talk to people because this is exactly what it's like. It's like when you think you're done and you know, like for the longest time because you're tired of listening to somebody tell you what to do, times, all this crap, right? So you think I can't wait to get out the door. And then all of a sudden you burst out the door and you end up a civilian. And then this is how I bring this up to people when I talk to them. Hey, how you doing, guys? This exact conversation had, and I'm telling you, and he started crying. This is because I said you burst out the door, and then all of a sudden it's like you're in an NFL stadium at night, and you're on the 50-yard line, and there's nobody in the stadium, and like just completely and utterly alone because when you try to talk about something, you know, people just can't. They just can't process it. So you regress into yourself. So you're in this, and I say, and it's like you have, you know, what every soldier loved their poncho liner, right? You have your poncho liner over the top of you, and you're like being invisible to you. You're just trying to remain like hidden. I'm like, and at some point, it just gets. You realize like I'm hurting.
Well, what you're doing with this, getting spidering this out to connect with a lot of people, and Gary's foundation is what now? Gary Sinise?
The Gary Sinise organization.
So those big corporations can do big things like build a house or do those kind of things, but they can't necessarily reach out to the individuals. Right. Yeah. So you guys joining forces with that on the macro, and you guys are kind of micro.
Right.
See, I knew going to college for a year.
Macro, micro.
You were crushing it,
right? Bring us the taxes. Bring the taxes.
But absolutely, I think being able to do that, I think, is where the value is huge. You guys are where the rubber meets the road.
Right.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
The local fight on the ground will always be the most difficult to sustain. Though it's affected probably the most by the larger realm of contributions in our country, I think the local ground fight of getting our veterans out there, and like Danny said, sometimes it's a plug and play. Sometimes you go out there and guys see, okay, maybe this horse thing isn't for me, but dude was talking about going to DAV Island and fishing with veterans later. Or dude was talking about going with Jimmy out and fishing later. Dude's talking about going to Big Sky, Montana and doing their outreach.
Right.
Like there's a lot of things that you can tap into that maybe if fishing or horses aren't your thing, it's really like a global square, if you will call it, or a market, a town market of local veterans in the community that might not get that chance to go to the American Legion Post meetings and catch up with that stuff. Some of us got kids, Babes and Waves are a long thing in the past.
There's a great post out off of 17.
That's right. I love the VF dub off 17.
It's to the public,
my jam.
they got great
man.
food, and it's affordable.
It is a nice place. I believe Clint Eastwood was shooting a film in there last month.
Really?
Yeah.
I was not aware.
I saw that guy walking around with like 100 people behind him, and I was like, wonder what's going on over there. And I believe he was in the house shooting a film for his upcoming film in the spring.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So to I guess recap this message, you all are partnering with EVP, correct? And trying to help veterans find that peace when you go into war, when you do have difficulties in life, and come together to build a community and camaraderie to have a bigger impact than just going to do something, right? It's more of like, hey, I want, when you join EVP and the Horse Foundation, you're just not getting an experience, but you get a lifetime commitment with partners that's going to help you out.
So, and it also gives you a person that you can talk to.
Yeah.
Like, because the things that I might be going through, I guarantee Ryan goes through.
Yeah.
Like, everybody that goes through has the same challenges. Because back to that football stadium, right?
Yeah.
When that dude finally decides to raise his hand and say, I need something, and he pulls his poncho off, and this is the startling part. This is where the tears come. Is because slowly but surely, he starts to notice that there were other people in there too, and they start to take their ponchos off. And then where you thought that you were in this stadium all by yourself, you're standing in a field with 1,000 people going through the exact same thing, and all you had to do was stick your arm out, and you would have touched somebody.
How do you throw all those ponchos are on the ground?
No.
Throw them in a pile?
Because it's a poncho liner, and you don't throw your whoopee in the dirt because it's magic
Everyone
blanket.
knows that.
Okay.
You don't know that. To that is that, like, look, yeah, again, just being involved in something, because the biggest thing for me is for me to get help for myself is to help Ryan, to help to whoever needs it or wants it, and maybe they don't. Maybe we can just act like they don't need help and they can help us help somebody else, and then passively they're getting some sort of like, oh wow, because make no mistake, we do not sit around and talk about feelings.
Yeah.
We do not, because most guys don't want to.
Yeah, they got to leave it at the door.
You got to leave it at the gate, right?
Yeah.
That's right. So you come there, there's no expectation to spill your guts out or be dissected or analyzed or any of that stuff. You just go, you get to poke fun at your buddies, because we all just love to talk smack and hang out with horses, and that's it. Like, that's all it is. And just being open, just letting the universe or whatever to be, one of those people. But, just to say that I'm open to kind of like some passive healing.
Yeah.
And then that's just sent me on a path where I can't stop now. So yeah, not to talk a lot, and I do talk a lot, and I apologize. So enjoy.
For sure. Before we go, is there any other questions you got for Ryan or?
Wow,
Dan?
I really appreciate what you guys are doing. Hope to help out and be part of it.
So, Danny, last question that I have for you, and Ryan as well. How can the people get in contact with you?
So honestly, I'll probably just throw my contact information here and give you my business card. That's the easiest way because honestly, it's not like I get 1,000 phone calls, right? So, I'll leave you my phone number. It's 912-901-6522. You can text, whatever, and I'll put you in contact and kind of get the process going. So
Awesome. We'll make sure we add the links here below to the website, the video, special video he was talking about, and so much other impactful information that we have for y'all today. Well, just want to say thank you, Danny and Ryan, for coming out to our podcast, where our mission is to help buyers, sellers, agents, small businesses, and nonprofits reach the resources and knowledge to achieving their goals. Again, this podcast is sponsored by Page Properties Team, TheDream E.N.T, Real Estate for a Reason, and Make Real Estate Fun Again. Thank you so much, Danny Archer and Ryan Davis, for coming out. Again, the founder of EVP, you guys say the name?
Equine Valor Project and mortgage officer with USA Mortgage, whatever.
I mean, that's awesome. And Ryan, thank you so much for just being you and being that special operation, not just for the military, but also for this special project here. I hope y'all have a wonderful day, a fantastic week, and always remember to be awesome. God bless, and I'll catch you on the next episode. Peace.